Okay, Hidayfa, I'm going to go through your paper after I've read it and give you some comments. So if you don't understand something, just rewind the video and listen again, or you can ask me in class, okay? To begin with, I think your title is cute. Verses doesn't need to be big, just VS period is good. Here, after Eve, use a semicolon, not a comma. So you're going to say between Adam and Eve, semicolon, capital, who is better, who is stronger, and who is wiser. Okay. So here you can delete in that and just say men are better than women in everything only because they are just men. Here, however, did they know that is too informal. This is not really academic writing. You don't need this. So you can just say, however, women are better than men in many fields. Check your spelling. Then you go right into your thesis, but really you need to back up and give me some more. What are some ways that women are better than men in many fields? You're going to tell me one way in your paper that they're better at decision making. But go ahead and just list a few other things. Then, for your thesis as a new sentence, here, delete such as, don't need that, but instead start with one other way or one major way that women are better than men is decision making because blah, blah, and blah, okay? So, expand this before you get into your thesis. You need to really make your paragraph a little bit bigger. Also, in your thesis statement, you don't have parallel structure. So make sure, again, if you say women take, okay, then not they could work, right? They take less risk, they work under pressure, and they and are able to multitask, something like that. But you've got three different forms, a noun and then a verb and then a pronoun and a verb and then a possessive pronoun and a noun. Okay, so let's see. This language, be afraid, and it should be of, not from. I don't think that that's really the best word. Maybe be cautious. Afraid is too strong. I don't think women are afraid in the way that you might be afraid of murder or death, right? So maybe, yeah. Think about your word choice. Also, in general, that is something that you can definitely work on, is adopting a more academic vocabulary throughout your paper. For example, like the word wrong. It's so simple. I think at this point you can really expand your vocabulary, maybe a negative way, a serious way, okay? Throughout your paper, you have places where you could make your language stronger, more academic. Here, this has helped them to adopt decisions more carefully, not take risk, and choose the safer option. Well, why is the safer option the better option? I think you need to stop and explain that. Because really, I can understand why it's important to make a careful decision or maybe to not take risk, but is safer always better? I don't know. There was something funny that didn't quite make sense about this idea of the safer option being the best option. Because why would men take the less safe option then? Ever. Here, I don't know what this one is about. I see it throughout your paper, but delete those. Okay, so you're just using title and then put the year inside of the parentheses. Okay. This confused me. So you have this article written by Amy Groth, comma, Bern Feiner, comma, a research scientist. Well, who wrote it? Groth, Feiner, or a scientist at Columbia? Very confusing for me. Okay, so one other thing is, where does this article appear? So please give me the source of what, yeah, was it an online article? Was it from a journal, etc., etc.? Okay, in a couple places you've written psychologic, which is not a word. I think the word you're wanting is psychology, but I want to take a minute and quickly talk to you about the meaning of psychology, because psychology is the study of the mind. And throughout your paper, you use psychology in places that we actually have other language, other vocabulary. So again, this is where learning the difference in some academic vocabulary is going to help you. So I would here say the psychology for this one. Later on, we can talk about other options. Okay. Usually women think about disadvantages more than advantages. Where did you get that idea information? This seems like something that you should have research on, because I'm not clear why you have that idea. Same thing here. Men usually think about advantage more than disadvantage. That would be a really strengthening argument for you to have research that actually shows that. Okay? Here, under the difficulty and circumstance of life, sounds very poetic, but it's not quite academic, and I think that you could say this in a clearer way. Okay? Why, under what circumstances have women proved that they're more active under pressure? Same thing here, this hold themselves more. I think that sounds a little bit poetic. We wouldn't say this expression at all in English. Yeah, so I'm not exactly sure what you mean by they hold themselves more, so just think about changing that. Here, Aria, all capital letters, is that her last name? Manslas, I don't know what that is. Here's your title. Again, where does it come from? What online source? Get rid of the two. You don't need to underline your quotes for all of those places. Actually, you don't have this one, but later on you have the other ones underlined. So delete the underline. Here, it should be just this study. Now, here we don't want psychology. We're actually talking about brain chemistry. So you could say, this study proves that the brain chemistry of men sometimes makes him act in a rush during decision making. That would be more clear. Okay, but look at this. Make him sometimes be. You've got these two verbs, and then you've got sometimes, a lot of words, and you don't need it. So think about how you can write this with a little bit more academic language. Same thing here. Some series of big problem, really general. Try to work on increasing your academic vocabulary in this paper. Okay. Here, furthermore, women's brains can handle. Could is an unreal condition, and can talks about possibility and ability. Here, instead of her, go ahead and say you can find a woman. Okay, that's a nice little touch right there. Same thing, don't underline your quote. However, I think you need to go back and see what you copied and pasted. It looks like you've copied descriptions of a photo in updated handout photo issued. Something's going on with this quote. It's not right. You need to go back and check it, and it definitely does not prove your argument in this state. The first part, scientists found women are better at multitasking, that is clear. But after this part, nothing makes sense, okay? Then you say this study proves that women are better than multitasking. Cool. Perfect. But multitasking doesn't mean that they look at many decisions at the same time. It means they can do different tasks. So maybe she can be thinking about a decision while cooking dinner and talking on the phone. Okay, so this argument is not as strong for me because I don't think it means just because women multitask, they're looking at many decisions all at the same time. Okay, here we're going to get into your counter argument. And you need to say here, there are many men who will disagree with me. Here, instead of instabilized mental health, the language isn't quite right. Maybe you could say something like, they will say that women cannot be, I don't know, rational. I think rational or logical. I think either of those would be a better word choice. Stabilized mental health sounds like seriously crazy, like a strong mental illness. And so, I don't know. I'm not sure about that language at all. And here you say, which is, by the way, totally right. Okay, what evidence do you have to support that? That would be a great place to put that in there. Um, but if you just say, by the way, it's totally right, it's like saying, hey, because my neighbor says so. Okay, make sure you prove this. Here, psychology should be changed to biological, okay, because you're talking about bodies. And so that would be biology. So they share the same biological symptoms. However, I am very confused by this quote in this source. So it's published by The Guardian. What's the name of the study? So you're talking about how women and men have the same biological symptoms. But you don't really relate that back to this idea. So you need to go back in your rebuttal and say, well, if both men and women experience menstrual symptoms like headaches or cramps, then women should equally be able to say that men are unstable. So really this doesn't prove anything, right? It just you don't really actually finish making your rebuttal after you give the quote. Okay, so your conclusion is a little bit too short, and here this idea, who still fanatics for their opinion? Maybe the language, again, not quite right. Fanatics is usually used for sports fan and people who are extremists in their religion. So I would just say probably there are some men who feel strongly about their opinions, about women's abilities to do what? Just all abilities, or abilities to make good decisions. Carry that a bit further. I like that you went back to this idea of Adam and Eve, but this conclusion is way too short, okay? You need to go back and summarize your main ideas, and then you can finish with this idea of, in the end, maybe I would just say in the end, both Adam and Eve might not always make the best decision, but science shows that Eve is a better decision maker than Adam. Something that actually says that research can prove this, right? So instead of just men having an opinion, research shows something different. Got it? Okay.